Cristo, which was a drama. I am now reading The Three Musketeers, which is a comedy. And the big villain in The Three Musketeers, as you remember, was Cardinal Richelieu. Okay. Now, Cardinal Richelieu and King Louis XIII were real guys. Okay. But this whole, Three Musketeers, it's kind of taking history and massaging it and taking poetic license and getting into the minds of people. In fact, I will tell you, Three Musketeers is written much the way that a Guy Ritchie film is filmed. Whereas they go into people's backgrounds, they do things a strange way. And anybody who is familiar with Guy Ritchie, the movie director, and Alexandre Dumas, the French author, I think you'll agree with me. But anyway, one of the big sayings that the real Cardinal Richelieu, not the one portrayed in The Three Musketeers, although they're the same, Cardinal Richelieu had a saying. It's a saying that everybody has heard of, and it is, the pen is mightier than the sword. That statement was originally attributed to Cardinal Richelieu, who was the Secretary of Defense and the number one minister of King Louis XIII. But the pen has always been mightier than the sword. Okay? And nowadays, very few people truly do believe that carpet bombing the opposition wins hearts and minds. You may win the battle, but by carpet bombing the opposition, you will rarely win the war. Okay? And wars are fought differently. They continue to progress. As long as man is walking the face of this earth, we will always have war. That's just how we are, okay? Just like there will always be prejudice. There will always be racism. There will always be sexism. There will always be we will never hold hands and sing Kumbaya. That's not how we're put together. We're always going to have, name the ism, it's going to be there, okay? The goal is to minimize that. The goal is to get more people doing the right thing than the wrong thing. The goal is to make everybody's life a little bit better through good thinking and good deeds. But we're always going to have war of some type, okay? Once upon a time, you would go in and get 100,000 troops, raid a city, and beat everybody up with a club or a battle axe, okay? All those that were left, you kill all the men, you breed with the women, and their kids, they see things your way. You've won the war, okay? Later on, our weapons became more sophisticated. We became more removed, where you really didn't have to look into the eyes of the man whose head you were splitting. You could shoot him from afar with a bow and arrow, or you could shoot him from afar with a rifle, or you could shoot him from still afar with artillery. Now you can shoot him from another continent using a drone. But it's still the same thing. You're still killing the opposition. Nowadays, wars are fought. You need to win the hearts and minds of people, because you can't win a war anymore by carpet bombing the opposition. You can win the battles, but you can't win the war. You need to get people to see things your way. And I think Tim Kaine's bill, Senator Tim Kaine's bill, Democrat, Virginia, is a good bill. And I think it has a good chance of passing. Now, Trump has already said he's going to veto it, okay? Which is an odd thing, because this isn't limiting Trump's power. This is limiting the president's power. Now, right now, the president is Trump, okay? And Kaine has admitted, look, we hope to get a president in office in 2020. We don't want him having that power either. So kudos to Kaine. But I think what could happen, and Trump is very, what's the word I want to use? Unpredictable? Maybe that's the word I want to use, that everyone would agree with anyway. He is very unpredictable. And I suspect that he may, while boasting that he's going to veto this bill, what he may do is go to the Senate and say, look, I don't like this bill. I'm going to veto it, but I will sign it. If you do this for me, I'll do that for you. What if he did that? What if he got something? I don't know what offhand. In fact, I'm just thinking out loud here. But what if Trump got something that the Democratic Congress didn't want, they wanted, but Trump wouldn't give it to them, okay? What if they compromise? What if they trade this for that? Quid pro quo. a quid pro quo that you don't get impeached for, okay? What if they decided to have a quid pro quo? In other words, what if they decided to compromise? Partnership, cooperation. Kaine gets his bill. The president can't start carpet bombing without approval of Congress. And how long do you think it would take Congress to approve a War Powers Act on any people? Weeks, months, years? In other words, by the time they decide, yep, we can go and start shooting at these folks, maybe the conflict is done. And maybe things really will change for the better. Maybe they will. Through partnership, through cooperation, through compromise. And maybe everyone will look at the West once again and say, wow, these people are kind of prudent. They're not just shooting anybody who disagrees with them. Now, what we have to understand then is when we have our next genocide and Congress is arguing over whether or not we need to go again, and 100,000, 200,000, 400,000 people are murdered and eliminated. We have the next ethnic cleansing thing going on. We can't say, well, we should have done something about it because we've already made the decision not to, okay? That's what happens when you keep your nose out of things. And maybe it should happen. Maybe others need to do their own thing and look to the West as being the adult in the house again, okay? This Tim Kaine bill, if passed, could have a real chance of changing the way we fight wars forever. Sanctions are a good way to fight wars. The best way to fight a war is, look, we have this. We have the best lifestyle in the world here in the West. The people are freer than anywhere else. The people have more stuff than anywhere else. Our disease rate is lower. Our travel rate is higher. Our happiness index is higher than anybody else's. Now, you have two choices. You can be with us or you can be against us. Now, if you're with us, welcome to the club. Here's the rules you have to adhere by. If you're against us, we're not going to shoot at you, but you're on your own. In other words, the helpless will help the helpless, but the clueless, you're on your own. If you want to be Afghanistan or Iran, let's say, and not go along with what we say you need to do, fine. Sell your oil someplace else, get your food from someplace else, sell your goods someplace else, okay? And when your people decide they don't want that anymore and shoot your leader in the head and elect somebody else, okay, welcome to the club. Maybe I'm just being Pollyanna once again. Maybe I'm just hoping for a better way. Maybe not. I don't know. But I can tell you this. We have progressed as a society for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Sure, we take a step back every now and then, but it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, not the other way around. So who knows? Kaine may convince Trump. Kaine may throw Trump a bone. Trump may sign it, and then Kaine may have to do something that Trump wants him to do. Who knows? Maybe it's building more of his dopey wall. I don't know. Who knows what it is? Maybe the military gets more money. Maybe, who knows what the deal is. But no matter what happens, okay, through partnership and cooperation, the world will definitely be a better place. If the good guys prevail, and the good guys are the West, they always have been, they always will be. The Chinese communists are never going to be the good guys. Putin is never going to be the good guy. Maduro is never going to be the good guy. Anyone named Castro or his predecessors are never going to be the good guy. Because remember, these people can't leave their country. We can. You can't decide, if you're a Chinese communist, you just can't decide you're going to start living in the West. You got to petition it and get the government to approve it. We don't have to do that, okay? I'm rambling just a little bit. I need to wrap up the podcast. But I will say this, my prediction is if Trump cooperates with Kaine and we get this bill signed and the War Powers, this new War Powers Act is enacted and the president can't start shooting anytime he doesn't like the way things go, I think that's going to pay a big dividend towards getting Trump reelected. If he doesn't go along with it, I think there's a good chance that that could lose him the election because he refuses to work with Kaine, who I believe is making a reasonable suggestion here. And maybe Sanders wins the election. But here's the most important thing to take away. It doesn't matter who wins the election, whether it's Sanders or Biden or Mayor Pete or Trump. After the election, we are not going to see a New York Times headline that says, God is dead and the war has begun. Okay? That's not going to happen. Whatever happens with this bill, whatever happens with the election, we're going to be just fine. And why do I say that? Because we always have. As long as we've embraced this mindset, this form of government, and we remain that shining city on the hill, as President Reagan used to say, everything's going to be just fine. Well, that's it. I'm done. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. JamesStrongShow@hotmail.com. That's the email address. That's the best way to get the podcast, okay? You send me your email address. Upon publication, I send you a link. You click on it. You download it, and you listen to it at your leisure. Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Apple, iTunes, Spreaker.com, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of ways to get the podcast. YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Okay? That's it. We're done. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. Until next time, this is James Strong saying adios.